operational mode.
Hello and welcome to Path to Glory to Conquering the Canoptek Circle. I'm Nick. I am back. You've seen it before here. Taming the Tempestus. We had to go with the Aquilons. It kind of petered out. I'm not gonna lie. It just kind of whimpered itself into a slow demise. But we're gonna have another go this time. We're gonna jump on the hype train. We are going for the Canoptek Circle. Man, I don't even know where to go with this and what we're looking for, but we're here. We're gonna try and grab them. We're gonna try and build them. We're gonna try and take them to a tournament in a month or two time, and you guys are coming along with me. So let's have a talk about the Canoptek Circle quickly and the game as a whole at the moment, because let's be honest, Deathwatch is coming. They look horrifying. I think when you look at what the Deathwatch can do and their operative selection, all the other elites are dead. Because the Deathwatch are doing what them other teams do, but better. So why would you bring them? I mean, you lose an operative. I could be very wrong. First, let's preface this by just starting with that. I could be very wrong about this. But I think Deathwatch are going to just crush all the regular elite teams. I think, why would you bring Angels if you can bring them? Why would you bring Plague Marines? Deathwatch can just wash their poison away immediately. So it's like you can either out-heal the poison if you choose to, or if you're close to melee range, you just purge the poison, so therefore, contagion gets turned off. So I think Deathwatch are going to just crush the elite meta in a sense. I think Deathwatch has really good play into a lot of the other gatekeeper teams like Goremongers. So basically, when I saw them, I was just like, damn, what can compete? And initial thoughts were Hierotek. I think Hierotek definitely has some play into Deathwatch. But what we've got here with the Canoptek is Hierotek 2.0, really. So I've been running the Plague Marines at tournaments recently. I've had pretty good success with them. I think I'm 11-7 wins and losses, which is not too bad considering the player pool that I play in. I think it's a pretty good effort. But I can't keep running the Plague Marines. They were a band-aid, and with the Deathwatch coming along, I feel like I basically got to change it up. So I think the Canoptek Circle really suits my play style and what I want from a team. They are very much a shooty, tanky team with a flexible toolkit. I think they've got a pretty high skill ceiling, which, after playing the Hierotek for the first kind of 4 months straight, I feel like I can squeeze the juice out of the Canoptek Circle quite a bit. They have a lot of cool tricks. They have a lot of combo potential with their matrix, which we'll talk about. I think they're a very reactive team. You have a built-in stall with a firefight ploy. You can throw some warriors around just to kind of stall out some activations. So I think they've got some weaknesses, don't get me wrong. But I think at this point, the Canoptek Circle's got to be a team I grab and try to run with. I'm going to try to get there. So let's have a closer look at the team. The brief overview is this: 8 operatives, 1 Cryptek, 2 Tomb Walkers, 2 Plasmacytes, 3 Warriors. Now the Warriors can be reanimated each turning point, 1 at a time, so you can kind of afford to throw them away. You can afford to get down Mr. President with them. You can afford to, I think what the play is going to be is to reposition them the 7 inches, be 2 inches away from a unit and shoot the unit, and then try and make sure that the warriors are in the way of that unit getting to your more high value targets. So they either have to waste an APL shooting where they are and then reposition, thinking more here of Deathwatch with 3 APL, or they charge fight and then can shoot kind of thing. So the warriors, I think, are going to be the key pieces to keeping your main units alive and well. I think that the Canoptek Circle has the potential to do dev wounds, or like just straight up wounds without armor saves, which can really mitigate some of the elite like strengths in that 3-up save. And then we have the ability to stall. I think obviously this is going to be a very difficult team to play properly. We're going to have a little talk about the matrix and everything soon, but I think the weaknesses are going to be if you get goremongered and you just get rushed by like 4 or 5 decent melee threats, the warriors aren't going to really be able to hold back that tide, and you're going to struggle there. The other half maybe really could be shooting teams as well if you've got to access light cover or light terrain to move forward because of the two walkers. So that's a problem. The other biggest issue I think with this team is going to be the 50 mil bases are just ridiculous to work with in terms of getting them around the maps. Now, there's going to be new maps. There's going to be new ops. So I could be completely wrong. But with the current maps and the way the ops work, positioning's pretty ridiculous on a lot of the maps. So to get through a Gallo Dark Door, you got to have half your base overlapping the opening. You have to waste a lot of movement, kind of getting them into exactly the right position. So that's something to definitely keep in mind. So into the current meta, we've got a really weird meta at the moment, I think. This is long event, so this is 4+ rounds, 16+ players, win rates and everything like that. So I think that Pyrotech ultimately is the better team. It's more flexible. Its operatives hit harder and more consistently. I think Pyrotech is better generally than Canoptek. However, Canoptek, I think, has the benefit of being new. I don't think a lot of people will necessarily think that they're very strong. They're kind of gimmicky with their weapon that can just obliterate people, but Pyrotech's definitely more reliable. Sanctifiers, obviously, with the damage reduction and their ability to move around a lot, they're going to be a bit of a weak point, I think, especially with having way more operatives. I think that Legionary Nemesis Claw is not much of an issue. I think that really what we're going to be looking at here is Raveners and Goremongers. Raveners are super oversaturated in terms of the amount of games that they've been playing lately. So Raveners will be a struggle because if they can pop up and charge out of the tunnel, it's going to be hard to stem that. I think, once again, good placement of the Warriors is going to be really important here. I think Deathwatch, come September 13th, that it's just going to be a Deathwatch meta. It's going to be Deathwatch and Raveners. I feel like Deathwatch and Raveners will make up 25 to 33%, between a quarter and a third of the overall player base. I could be wrong, but judging by the hype in the Discords that I'm in and judging by what everyone's been saying, that's what looks like it's going to happen. So I think that their teams that the team will struggle with a little bit, but once again, I think there's a bit of play there depending on how you position. I think depending on how you can, work that Cryptek and get the most value out of him as possible, there's some potential. Now, Elves are going to be another struggle. Elves can ignore piercing, which turns off some of the better guns in some scenarios. And then also Elves can move fast. And that's something that we're going to struggle with a 5-inch movement to pivot. So that's something to watch out for. I think that Horde teams, if you get a Horde team overrun you with too many threats, there's only a certain amount of shots you can take per turn with the Canoptek Circle. So you're not going to have access to shoot twice and everything unless you're commanding with the Geomancer. So in reality, if perfect world, if you get 8 shots off plus 1 more, that's 9 shots. If you're running up against 14 models, that's 5 models that are still not being hit at all, in a perfect scenario. So definitely something to consider there, that if you get overrun by hordes, I think you're going to have to work hard at just taking them out as they get to you, which might mean building walls and doing some fun stuff like that. But yeah, I think really though, we have to wait as far as analysis goes until we see new tac ops, new crit ops, new map layouts. It's kind of a little too hard to say this early on, in a vacuum, what our big threats are going to be. But I have a feeling, a few of the reoccurring issues will come up with a team like this. So the big thing with the Canoptek Circle is going to be learning the Matrix. We've got to become one with the Matrix, guys. We are Neo. Morpheus has got us in there, and now it's time to play. So when it comes to the Matrix and positioning it and everything like that, first things want to caveat with, it's going to be team dependent, as in your opponent. It's going to be map dependent, depending on where terrain is, where the points are, and everything like that. I think for right now, I'm looking at doing like an equilateral triangle, a 6-inch by 6-inch by 6-inch triangle. I think that you do it in the second shape that we have there. I have used the brown square on the first 2 triangles as the Cryptek position. So the first, and the reason I'm thinking triangle, let me just explain that. The reason I'm thinking triangle is because you can put units throughout that area. When you've just got a line, and if this is a 20 mil token, it's not a very thick line, it's going to be very hard to position perfectly so you're getting advantages of all the advantages of the matrix, if that makes sense. So for example, you have that one that reduces the movement by 1 inch, right? When it hits the edge of the matrix. Now, if you're standing and it's a 20 mil token touching the matrix, they don't have to cross it, which means that they can run right up to the edge of it. They can have their full distance available, and then they can fight you from the edge, from outside the edge, right? Whereas if you're 1.5 inches in and they've got a charge just over there, or up to their full distance, that strap ploy can prevent that charge from occurring. So I think at this point, I think the triangle is going to be the way to go, because you just get access to the most area. Now, I think the second triangle here, with the single point back towards your deployment zone and the 2 top points towards the midline, is going to be the better shape, because you could fit a tomb crawler up on that line potentially, as well as your Cryptek. I think your reanimator has to stay at the back and pop guys back up if they go down, and your Get Down Mr. President will then be online. So you can put little units in that area to support without them being targets, and that way it doesn't matter where your Cryptek is, as long as he's touching the triangle, he'll be kind of safe. The other option is to try and do the triangle at a slight angle to get to either your home point and the midpoint, or the midpoint and the opponent's home point. So that's kind of what I was trying to show there. Generally, 6 inches will get you very close to tapping 2 points. If not, you might have to break the triangle and put the third point across. Once again, the new maps might change this. I think the other thing to remember the Matrix as well is close quarters, you can't go through the wall. So, it's I've played a game now on the close quarters, and it feels really bad having to spend an APL, open the door, do the firefight ploy to get the things through the wall, and then, potentially activate the Cryptek then to close the door again. It kind of feels a little finicky. Once again, into the dark, and doors are just the bane of my existence. So we're all about the Matrix. We're Matrix people. Get your leather jacket on and just embrace it. Get the dark sunglasses, slick your hair back, turn down your color saturation on your glasses, and just embrace the fact that if you're not in the Matrix, much like the Raveners, if you're not in the tunnel, you're not ravening. If you're not in the Matrix, you're not canopting. So that's going to be my motto moving forward, I think. Let's have a quick look at what's good, what's bad, and what we're thinking. I think the good thing is they're not going to be very popular. I think that means that you can surprise your opponents, which I think is really important. I think they're surprisingly durable, which a lot of people will just try and sink shots in, and it won't work as well as it should. I think that the weapon profiles with the 4 dice on 4, I hate 4s. I wish it was 3s, but accurate to, in theory, we should be getting 3 hits go through each turn. That would be the theory. What I'm really upset about is lethal 5. God damn, why would they do that to us? Like, why would they put accurate 2 out of 4 dice and then 2 dice to try and roll a crit? It's just a little upsetting. You're just not going to get it as often as if you rolled all 4 dice, but then you're not getting the consistency. So bit of a, why not severe? Man, that would have been so much nicer than lethal 5, but anyway, it is what it is. What looks bad is the bases, the huge bases. It's just, as we put in the second point there, they're slow and they're cumbersome. It is very hard to move these models on and around Vantage, over walls, getting them in between. If you put a barricade on certain maps to stage up, all of a sudden you're having to climb that gap between a barricade and the stronghold. So slow and cumbersome is definitely a big thing. Currently, the tack and crit aren't terrific for this team. In terms of recon, you've really only got confirmed kill as an option. And then security, you're slow, so the elves can just deny you contain. Take ground takes you 3 turns to get there. there's a few issues there, but they're changing, so let's not worry about that too much at this point. We are currently about 7 days before release, if not a little bit more than that. So current game plan is to get them, build them, paint them, and start grinding out games. I've been fortunate enough to play 2 games on TTS already. I'm definitely going to be using TTS to practice in light of tournament coming up towards the end of September. But yeah, it's going to be just get them done, and start playing as much as we can, and then just pray that the new tack and crit ops are favorable for this team, so they can weather the storm of the Death Watch that's coming. Okay, and then what have we got next? How are we going to paint the Mud Wizards? I'm going to just be calling them Mud Wizards from now on. I hope that's not some weird explicit adult term that I'm misusing. But anyway, I'm thinking I'm going to go kind of psychedelic with the weapons and stuff and the claws. And then I'm thinking I'm going to keep everything like a really dark matte, maybe black or navy blue or something. So I kind of want to do like rainbowy, like neon craziness and make it look pretty fun. I think that'll be good. Whether or not that actually happens, that's a whole nother thing. I could completely mess that up, so hold your breath there. But hopefully I'll get some photos up and they'll look all right. But yeah, I think what we're going to do is, this is pretty short and sweet, but basically this is the plan. This is the plan moving forward. We tried with the Aquilons. It was a bit of a disaster. Canoptek, we've got a bit of time to see what we can do with them. We are going to produce a few episodes. I'm solo today, but maybe I can rope in one of the other guys once they've had a few games against them or with them to help me out, Nick or Briansy, for example. And then we will get back to you with what we've under and overestimated, what they've done well, what has surprised us, and then just a reality check of what our expectations are. I think my expectations at this point really are, I just want to survive the Deathwatch tidal wave that's coming, and I don't think I have a good team to do that. So my reality check is, can I 50-50 win rate with these guys in the Deathwatch meta? Because I think a lot of the older teams are just going to get left behind. I don't see how you can, Exaction Squad into Deathwatch. I don't see how you can Mandrakes really into Deathwatch. I mean, you can guarantee score points with the Mandrakes, but you're not going to be doing the crit and kill very well. So yeah, look, reality is we're going to try to just be sneaky, surprise people with our abilities, surprise people with our tankiness, and then surprise people with our hopefully consistent chip damage, and just see where we can go from there. So we will check in once we've had release and we start building and I get some more TTS games underway. I will check back in with everybody, give you a part 2 of the conquering the Canoptek, and then we will see how we go. Thanks for sticking around. Appreciate it. Catch us all around in the next one.